All righty. Good morning, senior home business family. Hope you guys having a great day. Brittany and Matt here to bring you some information about the senior placement industry. So we're a few minutes late. We were talking off camera all about business because you do have yours truly and Brittany in this business. We do still receive phone calls. We still help seniors. We still do all the things we need to do in this business. So we don't just teach it, right, Brittany? We actually do this business. And today I want to talk about it's a bad idea. Oh my gosh, this seems so counterintuitive, seems so weird, right? But it is a bad idea to put mom in an assisted living community. And some of you out there probably would think the way I would think, like, come on, man, aren't you kind of teaching this the right thing to do? Don't you have a course? Don't you have a community? All that stuff. But what we mean by this is if you don't do the vetting process and you assume that every community is the same, and you're just putting mom somewhere, that is a bad idea. Right, Brittany? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. So the keywords here are putting
Yeah.
So the keywords are, yeah, just putting your loved one or, even just putting anybody that you know, or just going to the place down the street. Or if you post on Facebook and say, where's the best assisted living in the area? And you get 50 responses of 50 different communities for 50 different reasons. Yeah, it is a bad idea just to put your loved one in assisted living without doing the proper research, without using somebody trusted, and of course, without looking at the big picture. We say this all the time, not every community is the same. They all say assisted living usually. You can drive down the street, they all say assisted living, memory care, whatever it might be, but they are not all the same.
Absolutely. And it's just, doing your due diligence and having a senior placement agent. I mean, if you're a person out there that you're considering having your mom or dad go into assisted living, maybe your primary care physician has recommended this for a solution for your mom or dad. I'd recommend that you would talk to a local senior placement agent. I mean, they're gonna know the communities, and that is the key is to know the communities or state reviews, different things, because as this industry is booming, we've talked about for a long time, Brittany, how by 2030, all the baby boomers will be 65 and above. So having that, there's a lot of communities that are always going up, and we see this throughout the country, new assisted living communities, a bunch of new care homes, but doesn't mean every community is the ideal community for your loved one. It just does not mean that. It's, and I know people primarily will think in terms of convenience. The community is a couple minutes down the street from where I live. They think in terms of cost, which I get. It's legitimate. I mean, you have to work within your budget, what you can afford, come together as resources for your family. But you need to think in terms of care is the paramount word there. So out of the three C's, try to substitute the convenience and the cost for care. Put that up top. At least start there and understand there still might be some communities that are outside your financial reach. Totally get that. But that's where I would start. I would say, where's the best care that my mom can receive? And that's where I want to start. Now, I may go there, and based on point system, based on community fees, based on what they charge for rent and all that stuff, I might not be able to afford it. And if that's the case, then you go on to the next one. But what you're doing is you're doing a process, an understanding what these communities offer. And because they're all trying their best, right? But doesn't mean they're all the best. It doesn't mean they're all the same. And so you're just trying to figure out the best solution for your mom. And that's where a senior placement agent would come into play. There's a lot of things, Brittany, I put on there as a bad idea for the thumbnail because we hear a lot about senior abuse, elder abuse. We hear about, people taking advantage of seniors. And, we don't want to dive too deep in the woods today, but I do want to bring up an article real quick and just kind of show you some statistics. And this is not to scare anyone. This is not to get anybody overly concerned that mom should never go to assisted living, but it is to bring some information to you that would hopefully cause you to strongly consider which community your mom goes to. And that's one thing about us, Brittany, is we're in the business, we're independents. And so we can actually refer seniors to any community we so choose in our city or state. I've got students that do this business across state lines. It's not like we've bought a franchise. Nothing wrong with franchises out there, but if you do, you're limited to a certain territory. And to think, kind of a side note about that, Brittany, the only thing I would hate about the franchises beyond the money, the investment, is the territory. Like you're given 5 zip codes. And what if the 5-star assisted living community, the best one around, is just outside your territory? You can never refer that resident to that community, and it would be a situation where you would have to direct seniors to your communities within your territory. We don't direct anything like that. If you want to know more about the senior placement business, you can join the Senior Placement Institute. Brittany and I did this together about 6, 7, 8 months ago. I'm bad with time, Brittany. I think it was somewhere around there. Most comprehensive senior placement course in the country. You can drop down, click the link, do that, or watch a free webinar. But let's pull up this article, Brittany. I just want to kind of hit some highlights of this. And so you look at these statistics. I mean, this is coming from Consumer Affairs, guys. Pretty legit, right? I mean, I think Consumer Affairs has a pretty good reputation. But there's some key insights to this article. And again, this is not doom and gloom. And this is not to say assisted living is not the way for your mom or your dad to go. We actually hope and pray that your mom and dad is well taken care of. And the primary place could be receiving care at home, or it could be going to assisted living community. But I want you to kind of keep some of these statistics in mind so you are aware. And I think that's the key word. People become aware of what potentially could go wrong. Now, you don't go around looking for the negative to happen. You look for positive things to happen. However, this is some of the statistics. An estimated 1/6 of seniors, or about 141 million people worldwide, experience some form of abuse. Psychological abuse is the most common type of elderly abuse. My dad went to skilled nursing, Brittany, I think about a year and a half ago, something like that. And he mentioned this in the skilled nursing he was at, that there was one particular person on staff there that would verbally abuse him. And he mentioned that over and over again, and I know things happen. I know personality types can rub each other the wrong way. I know seniors are just people too. And, we just might say things, act a certain way, and somebody might not, agree with that. And, it kind of causes some friction. But he mentioned that. So there's actually things that go on that. And I know that with my own family. So what are some more here? We got elderly Americans lose nearly $36.5 billion every year because of financial abuse. So there's financial abuse. About 64% of elder care facility staff members commit some form of elder abuse in a given year. And is that statistic right? Consumer Affairs, about 64% of elder care. Wow. I didn't think it'd be that high.
Yeah, that's high. That's heartbreaking. I hope it's not correct. I mean, I know that's really high.
Yeah, I would never have guessed that. Like if they would give me a fill in the blank about what percentage of elder care facility staff members commit some form of blah, 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 I would think it down to like 25%.
I was thinking 20s, yeah.
Yeah, not 64%. Oh my God.
That's over half, yeah.
Whew. Anyway, researchers estimate that there are 23.5 unreported cases of elder abuse for each reported and documented case. So there's ones that are unreported as well. And so that's why we get into, Brittany, senior placement, our industry, and our students, what they do. And they do a fantastic job in 35 different states across the country. But if I was just a person that was not in this industry, and my dad, for instance, went to skilled nursing a year and a half ago, and he was in need of assisted living, and hopefully I would have landed on a good, solid, local senior placement agent, because I really wouldn't know. I probably would just go online and just start entering my information online. And why is that a bad idea? I'm talking about bad idea. Why is that a bad idea? Talk to me about national companies and putting your private, personal information online. Why is that a bad idea?
I think the main thing, if we're talking from like a vetting perspective and looking at these communities, is that the fact that they're not here. So the national companies are going to work with anybody that they can, which is obviously for their business. That's their business. They're more of a digital marketing or a lead generation firm. So they are not having boots on the ground. Typically, I've heard that there are some local employees, but for the most part, they are just onboarding any community that is willing to work with them and pay them essentially for their referrals. So I think the main thing is they're not vetting them. They don't go check them out. They don't look at their state reviews. And I could be totally wrong. So somebody's in the comments saying they do all this, but from what I know, that's not their model. Their model is not necessarily to make sure that the communities they're recommending are operating correctly, do have a good reputation, don't have a lot of state dings against them where they're getting investigated for complaints and things along those lines. So that's one reason. I think the other reason too, going through this process is already so hard. There's so many question marks. There's a lot to take in. A lot of families have never even been through this process before. They don't know what to do. And then you get online, type your information, and now you're inundated with, I've seen anywhere from 20 to 60 different people calling you, emailing you, texting you.
Can you imagine?
It's already so hard. And if you don't have someone that knows the industry, that is unbiased, which I think the local people, if they do a good job, hopefully they're ethical. I think, like we always say, 99.9% of people in this industry are ethical. Obviously there's always some that are going to be the odd ducks in this industry, but I know we're full of great people that do a great job, especially our students. When you find somebody in that, they're not in it for the money. Obviously this industry is great financially, gives amazing benefits that way, but a lot of us do a ton of pro bono work. For example, if we have a community that maybe won't work with us for whatever reason right now, maybe they're always full, so they don't need us, but we know that our client would be a good fit there. I can say for myself, I would show them that community, but regardless of my pockets. So someone like a national company is not going to do that. They are only going to send you to places that have signed their agreement, that are going to work with them from a referral, like financial standpoint.
Absolutely.
And I can go on for hours. Why?
Yeah, but that referral agreement is big, right? Because there's a lot of communities that just don't like working with national companies. There's communities that have actually stopped working with them. So that's a key point, Brittany, is when you're looking for your loved one, and you go online and do that, you may not be given all the opportunities that are out there. Now, I still think the bulk of the communities use these national companies just for convenience of leads, and something maybe it's just habit, right? They're so used to doing it that way. Maybe they don't have any good local senior placement agents in their area. I don't know all the reasons, but there's at least with the local placement agent, hopefully if you got a good one, they will show you all, or at least consider all communities. Right now, you probably could get some local senior placement agents that only have 5 to 10 referral agreements. They're just getting started and they're just going to show you them. So I think a good question for people that are out there considering their loved one going into a community is do your own research, figure out how many communities are out there, which you can easily do a Google search, right? You can do that. And then, so when you're talking to somebody, you have an idea, okay, there's about 50 communities out there. And so when you're talking to the senior placement agent, say, okay, I realize there's 50 communities. How do we arrive at these 3? And then get them to tell you why. Now, they might have some good reasons. Hopefully they would have some good reasons of state reviews, maybe what I call family intel. I got a lot of good comments from families that really appreciated a certain community because of the food, because of the care, because of the special extra attention, or whatever the reasons may be. And so then you kind of go along and start asking good questions. I mean, the better the questions, the better the answers. So you want to kind of follow along the process. But so I would not, knowing what I know today, Brittany, I would never use a national senior placement organization, only because I don't want to be, my phone goes off enough now from what we do, right? Your phone constantly is ringing, texts, emails. I mean, how would you like to get 25, 30, you set up to 60 calls from one, based on one information that you put online, and now all these communities are calling you? It would be so confusing. So confusing. I think I told you a story before a long time ago, but when I used to work for a large community, I was only there 1 day a week on Saturday because I was outside sales, all that stuff. But anyway, long story short, I had his family come in on Saturday, had to give a tour. And it was a gentleman, his wife, and I think 4 or 5 other people. It was a pretty good sized group. It wasn't just 2 or 3. It was like 6 or 7 people. We're all walking around. And it seemed like they were enjoying it, having a good time, and, like what they see. And so I asked the gentleman that I was talking to, I said, hey, you like what you see? He goes, absolutely. He said, but I like what I saw in the other communities too. I said, oh, cool. So you've seen some other communities? He goes, absolutely. I'm doing my due diligence. And I said, hey, I appreciate that. I respect that. I said, just out of curiosity, how many communities have you seen? He says, I believe this is the 8th one that I've seen just recently, in the last probably 3 or 4 weeks. I said, that's amazing. You are doing your due diligence. Now, thinking about what you liked about our community, go back to the first community that you observed, you toured. What did you like about that community? He goes, well, and I forgot the wife's name. Let's call her Martha. He goes, Martha, what was that first community we saw? I can't really remember what it looked like now. See, he was so confused because he saw so many. And so you don't want to be caught up in, observing, touring, 8, 10, 15 different communities. You want somebody that's a professional that can help you, assist you in narrowing that decision down to a couple, 2 or 3 options. That's really what I would want if I was a person that was looking for my dad, right? I would want somebody like you, Brittany, that would help me and say, okay, Matt, these are the 3 best options based on the information that we collected from you about your dad, maybe from the doctor. This is his care, this is his behavior. These are the 3 best communities. And then I would ask you questions and we would talk, and then we go look at some communities and go from there. So I just think that's a much better approach. I mean, are we wrong, Brittany? I mean, what?
No. I mean, like I said, I've seen this a lot recently. There's people, we get calls from people that maybe have started the search on their own. Maybe their loved one, unfortunately, they did move them into a community. They used a national company. They thought it was the best fit ever, which is great. And maybe it was, but for a short period of time. Or, placement agents, if they're local and they're good, they go beyond 2 weeks. They go beyond 6 months. We're looking at a lifetime plan for your parents or your loved one or your grandma, grandpa, whatever it is. So when we're working with families, we're getting so much intel that it's not a 6-month solution, hopefully, not even a year. Hopefully it's for life. So I get calls all the time that they've started the search on their own. They're lost. They've been to many communities that, like you said, they've been to 8. They have heard, a lot of the same things. How are they different? So the good benefit too, the one we haven't really tapped into of using a placement agent, not only do we narrow it down, we make sure that you're asking the right questions. To your point, you ask a good question, you get a good answer. The better the question, the better the answer. These families don't know what to ask. They don't know what exactly should be the next step, things like that. So having somebody on your side that goes through this daily, that could probably almost tour the family themselves at these communities. They know the answers to the questions. They've been on the tour 20 times. I've had families look at me and say, are you sure you want to do this again? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because not every senior is the same. So the questions that I asked for Sally, 2 weeks ago when I was here might not be the same questions that I asked for Jim. Maybe things are different. For each person, things are important to each person. Maybe we're looking for someone that is kind of borderline assisted living and memory care. So we're having that conversation. Maybe Sally 2 weeks ago wanted to be close to the dining room. So we're worried about activities and dining and happy hour. So totally 2 different, conversations. No family is the same. You'll have a lot of similarities in your clients, but yeah, I think it's really important that you use somebody not only to give you the recommendations, but to take you from recommendations all the way to move-in. So and you won't get that support from a national company.
No, because what you're hitting on too a little bit is it's so vital that seniors get acclimated into the community. It's not about the move. It's about the stay. Mm-hmm. It's not about moving the furniture. It's about having the senior get moved internally, feeling a sense of peace and comfort and joy and fulfillment, those type things. That's really what I see, because it's easy to move a senior. I mean, as long as they have the resources, that's not a problem. There's opportunities that are out there all over the place. It's just landing that perfect fit. And I say that loosely, I know, because no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. No one is. But just the ideal community, having someone working on your behalf to do this. And if you're a senior placement agent out there, if you're one of our students or not, you're just in the business, man, make that your goal in your business, that you are treating this family and this person, this senior, as though that they were your parents, your loved ones. Like, how would you want your loved ones to be treated? And that's how we should treat everybody, right? Again, whether they have no money, I would talk to them with decency and respect. because I want my mom and dad being handled the same way. If they, as far as the move is concerned, and can accommodate them in certain ways, like one big thing I do, Brittany, and is help negotiate for seniors. I love that aspect now because it just reminds me of, man, it'd be kind of cool if somebody did that for my mom or dad, kind of save them some money. Didn't, renege on the care. It's not like you're getting a person into a lower community, a community that doesn't provide as good care, poor reviews, so you're saving them money. But no, keeping them at the same level of care that they need, they would appreciate, in the community they would love for less money. And so that's what we do. But yeah, I love that. And but kind of keep in mind of all the challenges that seniors go through nowadays. And these challenges, you guys, we mentioned earlier in that report, just briefly, we just kind of just hit some of the highlights, but it's something that happens at home. It doesn't just happen in communities. It happens to a lot of people, different classes of people, age groups. Doesn't just happen to seniors, but we're reflecting on seniors, and reflecting on seniors because they depend upon us to help them. I mean, I remember a day back when I was a kid, Brittany, and hopefully this continues. I don't know if it's as prevalent as today as was way back in the day. We always say that. I think every generation says their generation was the best. So I'm not trying to go down that road, but it seemed like as a kid, man, I didn't know anyone that really disrespected their grandpa or their grandma. And maybe it's where I lived and grew up. I don't know. And I don't see too much of that today either. I don't see too much people disrespecting the elderly, but it happens. And since the beginning of time when they've been documented, it seems like that those numbers of abuse in certain ways, financial, psychological, and in many other different ways, those numbers keep increasing. And I hope people are not just inflating those numbers. I hope, actually, I hope they do. So I hope the numbers are not that high, because then we saw that 64%. That just kind of set me back a little bit, from realizing that is, man, if you don't have the senior in the perfect ideal location, those things can happen. So I don't know what we can do to help offset some of these things other than the research that we do in this business, Brittany, the due diligence that we do and follow up with the leadership, the management groups, different people. Again, no one's perfect, but there's too many good communities out there that we really shouldn't have time for the bad ones. I don't know. That's just my opinion, Brittany.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot, not to go on like a, diatribe about this, but also like being the local placement agent that we are, like you mentioned, it's not just moving furniture. We are here again, not that I don't want to go national versus us, but like national and doing it on your own. Sometimes you don't have an advocate that understands all of this, because I always tell families, this is probably not going to be smooth. I'm honest, because it doesn't matter how perfect the community is or how perfect the staff is. This is a huge transition. It's more than putting furniture in a room and moving mom in the next day or dad in the next day and putting pictures on the wall. There are going to be challenges. Nobody's perfect. If this is your first time going through it, there's going to be bumps no matter what. I've probably never had a move that's had 100% zero bumps. Everybody's happy, smiling from first hour to 6 months. It's the reality of it. So having somebody on your side that knows the industry, that knows what's acceptable, nothing's acceptable, but there are some things that expectations need to be talked about with families and stuff. And that's what we're here for. We're here for more than the furniture move, the physical move. We're here for the lifetime, to make sure that, as placement agents, I spend an hour, sometimes 2 hours, 3 hours on the phone, move-in day, or in person, or afterwards. Or, I have a daughter that we just moved her mom last week. She's going on vacation as of yesterday. She's worried. And I understand that. And we had to talk her, off a ledge and get the resources, get home health. And like, there's things we had to do to make sure she could go on vacation this week. It was smooth, but there's concerns. So that's normal.
Yeah, the thing about the move, I love, and you and I have talked about this before, where, going and preparing the room before the senior arrives. And I can't say that happens all the time with my families, probably not even a high percentage, but when it does happen, it just warms my heart. When they go in and they're decorating, they're putting mom's special flowers on the counter, they're hanging some pictures of the great grandkids up on the wall or whatever it may be. They're just decorating. So when mom walks in, it's all done, because it could be very disheartening. I don't like moving at all. And I think most people probably in this world don't like moving. And it's no different with seniors. And it's just a different psychological challenge for them, I believe, because it's, thinking this could be their last place they ever move to. I mean, they get it for the most part. I understand there's certain seniors may not get it based on their condition, but there's a lot of independence and AL seniors. They get it, man. This is a senior community. And there's a reason why I'm here, right? I need to be cared for. But when they walk into the room or their apartment and it's all done up right, I mean, that's got to make them feel more at home. And guys, if you're out there, whether you're a placement agent, you can help in this like Brittany does, probably more than I do. But families do that. It will help tremendously to get your loved one acclimated into the community by doing that. So I think having the apartment or room set up would be huge. And then also I think, Brittany, if any way possible for the leadership of the community, it's much harder probably with care homes because they have a low population. Obviously, it could be 3, 4, 5, or 6 residents. Well, 5 by the time you move in, it'd be 6. But large communities, if you can somehow get mom to have a friend, a buddy, or someone she really enjoys, and so that's why I really like when communities do that. I know it's overplayed probably a lot, but I do like the afternoon come in for lunch, and not only lunch, but maybe have mom be part of an activity that's already scheduled and some kind of interactive activity. And who knows? I mean, it's better or happen organically than anything than planned. But who knows if a friendship happens organically? Because we're all in moments where we're playing a game or we're doing something. There's some sense of excitement, and then there's a memory you've created. There's something you're talking about, and it would make mom feel 1,000% more comfortable moving into that community. And I know that can't always happen, but things like that, because I know communities get a bad rep sometimes of staging tours and things. And I know why they do it, put their best foot forward, and that's cool. I can really get it. But if we do it from a pure heart and really say, hey, it's not staging. We're not trying to be something we're not, but we're trying to be authentic. And we really want your loved one to feel at home. And we want this to be your home. I think when it's come from that heart and that perspective, I think it just changes everything.
I agree. I love we have a lot of like brunches on Sundays at our communities in my area, and they have like entertainment and they have like a buffet brunch. And that's been a really cool thing to have. Like, it's more of just not a meal. It's like an entertainment and activity. And I've used that a lot for, families to come in, and it's fun on Sundays because it's like usually not a lot's going on Sundays. So everybody comes to it. Like a lot of the residents do. So I love doing that. I have had that as a recommendation, not stage. That's a pure event they have every week that they like to go to. One more thing on this state, like getting the room ready. I have found I know your moves too are fast. So we are working with families that are coming directly from a rehab or a hospital stay, or maybe it wasn't, maybe it's coming from home, but it's in crisis mode. So we don't have a lot of time to have the senior come see the place first. So I think having the apartment in that situation be set up is even more essential. Like if they've already seen the place, yes, it's super important to have them, all set up. But I don't have a lot of the opportunity where my clients actually do get to see their new place. So having their room ready, I've had seniors cry. They thought they were going to, your standard nursing home. They had no idea what they were walking into. Mm-hmm. So to walk into an apartment already set up for them in assisted living or a care home, I've had seniors cry. They were so scared. And then they walk in, they're like, okay, this isn't, it's not home, but it's not too bad. It's not home. I was so nervous and I'm here. So, yeah.
I got an idea. I haven't really thought about this, and maybe families have already done this, but I think it'd be cool when you're setting up the apartment or room to really reflect on how mom's or dad's living room or bedroom looks now and set it up as similar as possible. Yeah. Like if they got the TV in the corner and they have the love seat in front of the TV, with an end table over here with a picture of great granddaughter, whoever, right? Then mimic that, mirror that.
Yeah.
And I can't really say, I just thought about it now. I can't really say I've actually told people this, but just thinking out loud in terms of how to help seniors and feel more comfortable. I think that'd be cool. And so when they do walk in, or at least maybe not when they walk in because they realize they're in a different place, but maybe the next morning when they wake up, everything's very familiar. Everything's similar. Everything's kind of in a certain place that it was before. And I think they feel more at home like that. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but
I mean, it helps falls too. So I've actually recommended that for fall prevention, because if mom's used to be in a recliner, her cell phone's here, side table's here with everything on it, instead of having mom walk to the other side of the living room, now she can just grab it. Like, yeah. So if there is some cognitive decline, how they used to manage getting from, let's say, a chair to their bed. Yes, it might be a different room setup, but let's just say there used to be a chair in between her bedroom and her living room in the corner. Well, if we can do that, let's put a chair there. That way, if there's some cognitive decline, she kind of gets into her routine the same way, because seniors are routine people. Out of all the clients I've met with, they have a routine. They
absolutely.
drink their coffee.
Hey, I've got a routine. Does that make me a senior? I've got a routine.
Yeah, I do too. But they are seems like over the years when they're retired and
I think Brittany's telling me I'm old.
Routine, yeah, sorry. A little bit. So if you can set it up, even I've had like where in assisted living, if they don't have a full kitchen, but they have a Keurig, like their Keurig right next to their fridge, so that they have creamer, they can grab their, just to make it. Yeah, that's a really good point, Matt. I mean, I definitely.
And I can't say I've actually encouraged people to do. I mean, you probably have done it hundreds of times. I've done the encouragement of getting the room set up, but I just never really thought of having it mimic or mirror their own apartment or house where they live now. And I think that'd be great. Even like down to maybe hanging a picture again on the same wall, where they're looking at the TV and there's a picture of their family right there, usually, instead of being a blank wall or a random picture or whatever else, have that same picture there.
Yeah, definitely. Like any cognitive decline, that is going to be really important. So if you're talking memory care, that is super important to have a lot of the same stuff. Like we have one lady, she has a landline. She's in memory care, so she's not going to be using the landline, but we put the landline on the wall next to her family picture in her calendar. She's not going to use it, but it just, makes her feel like she's at home, because that landline's been on her wall since the 80s. So it's the same phone from the 80s in her new apartment. So
I love it. Love it, Brittany. Well, hey, I hope this was helpful for you guys out there. And, at times Brittany will just come on Wednesday and we'll talk about a certain topic. Sometimes we'll just do like we've done the last 2 or 3 Wednesdays. We'll just kind of just start talking randomly about this business, sometimes pull up an article, but the whole point is we hope it's value given to you, person out there just inquiring about senior living in general, people that maybe are interested about this business, the senior placement industry, or people that are just in the business already. Hopefully this will be very informative for you. And that's our goal every Wednesday, to come on here and just bring value to you. And so if you want to know more about the business, and you're not in the business, or you just want to know more about the Senior Placement Institute and how to get started, you can click a link down below. You can also watch a podcast. You can watch a webinar. There's kind of different links down there. I don't know. And if you have any comments, like Brittany mentioned earlier, just put it in the comments section and we'll reach back out to you. I can't say I'll get back to you in 5 minutes. I'm not on all the time. We are working. We're helping seniors. We're doing things, but we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So, but thanks for being with us. Until next time, God bless.